Okay, so creating art will fix all of your problems. Now, what do I mean by that, right? First of all, I actually do mean that. And I'm not just saying that for clickbait or saying that to over exaggerate, but I literally mean creating art will fix all of your problems. And I'll explain. So, when after you work and or after you go to school or after you go to work, whatever, or after you do both, a lot of people go to school and they go to work. But after you do both and you come home and you relax and then you relieve that stress of the work day or school day from your body, right? What will end up happening when you try to sit down and relax is you will experience a array of emotions, right? From boredom to loneliness to trauma from the past to responsibilities that you are running from and to the fear of death, right? All of these are all five, or are they five? Boredom, loneliness, yeah. All five of these come up in the psyche every time when you try to sit alone with yourself, right? And I recommend you guys watch that video, Why You Can't Be Alone with Your Thoughts, because it does go with this. But yeah, so all those problems that come up in your psyche, right? And they usually come up at the same time, or not even come up at the same time, but one thing will come up, whether it be, let's say, trauma, right? Let's say there's a memory that comes up from the past, and you feel those emotions, you relive those emotions, and that gets uncomfortable, and then you immediately go, I don't want to think about that. Think about something else, right? And then when you think about something else, you think about, oh, my floor is getting dirty, and I need to sweep my floor, or my beard is getting a little what is the word? Like I need to shave my neck beard because it's growing out. I need to shave my neck beard, or or a court ticket I need to pay off. There's a court ticket that I need to really pay off, and I need to go get the money. Or I got some library books that I need to go return. Right? These things come up in the mind, and you're like, oh, I don't want to think about that. That brings me uncomfortable emotions. I don't want to think about that. Then you think about something else, right? And then what you'll end up thinking about, or another thing, and then you might think about the fear of death, right? Which is you think about, oh, I don't have that much time left. Blah blah. I could die today. I could die. Or you think about, what if a loved one died? Like, what if my mom died? And you think about all these like existential thoughts, right? And you kind of have like a little existential crisis. You're like, oh, I don't want to think about that, right? And then you'll feel boredom on top of that, right? So you kind of experience all of these emotions at the same time. Not, you might have some people that really don't have any trauma from the past, and you might have some people that take care of business and they take care of their responsibilities, so they don't really have to worry about, because they handle all the responsibilities. But out of all these five things, right, even loneliness, right, and loneliness comes from, which I'm about to go into, right, all of these things that you experience, right, you might not experience all of them, right, but there are going to be one, two, or maybe three that come up in your mind when you try to sit alone, right, and whatever comes up in your mind, first of all, needs to be expressed immediately, because after you express it, it no longer becomes uncomfortable to think about. Because I think it's not the fact of like, hey, I need to clean my floor, and cleaning the floor is uncomfortable and I don't want to do it. It's not even that. Or I need to shave my beard, and shaving my beard is uncomfortable and I don't want to do it. It's not that. It's not that the process or the actual action is uncomfortable. It's just the fact of thinking about it is uncomfortable. And since thinking about it is uncomfortable, that makes you not think about it, makes you procrastinate and think about something else, because thinking about it is so uncomfortable. And so since thinking about it is so uncomfortable, you don't do it. And you realize it's not the actual thing is probably actually not even that bad, and it's actually pretty easy. I could knock it out in within a few minutes. It's just the fact of thinking about doing it is worse than actually doing it. And this is how like procrastination happens, right? And this is how you kind of create problems in your life, is because you run from the uncomfortable thoughts that you can't feel in the moment. And so what ends up happening is, since all of these emotions, right, come up and they're uncomfortable and you can't really deal with it. And also boredom comes up too. It also makes boredom uncomfortable. because all these things now make your boredom uncomfortable. And so now you can't even do what you really want to what you really enjoy. Now you're now how you react to your boredom, whatever dopamine choice you choose, is not because you actually want to satisfy your boredom, or actually because you actually enjoy it, but it's more because you don't want to think about your responsibilities, you don't want to think about your trauma, you don't want to think about your fear of death, you don't want to think about any of these things. And so you now have a system of habits, or you react to your boredom just for dopamine or distractions, not actual fulfillment and actual getting into your creativity and actual playing, right? And so let's see where I was gonna take that. And so yeah, the problem, okay, all of these problems that you have in your mind, right? The problem with not dealing with these problems, no. All of these problems that you have in your mind, right? They are uncomfortable to sit in and deal with, right? And so since they are uncomfortable to sit in and deal with, it causes a loneliness feeling, right? Because you have a whole bunch of emotions inside of you that you are not addressing or acknowledging or dealing with. And since you are not dealing with them and you're not expressing them, and you don't have anyone to express them to, and you say, hey, I have this court date I'm really worried about, or since you don't have that, we don't have that way of communicating it, now it becomes locked up inside, and or trauma even. If you're not able to communicate that trauma, it becomes locked up inside, and then it is used to torture yourself even more, right? And so yeah, it causes a loneliness feeling, because when you have emotions that you cannot communicate, that you cannot get out, and nobody will allow you to communicate them, then you feel a feeling of loneliness. That's why you could be lonely around a whole bunch of people. You could be lonely around your family. You could be lonely around your romantic partner. If your romantic partner does not allow you to communicate certain emotions, that will cause a feeling of loneliness, right? And so the feeling or loneliness is not the need to be around someone. It's simply just the need to communicate. Whether you are communicating to someone or yourself, right? Communicating is the expression of emotions, right? And so if you rely on other people in order for you to express your emotions, then you are forever a victim to loneliness, or you're a slave to loneliness, and you are a slave to your emotions, right? And you are a slave to other people too, because now you put your ability to communicate in the hands of other people, whether they allow you to communicate or not, and you want to allow yourself. And so in order to overcome loneliness, in order to deal with all of these problems, you have to give yourself permission to communicate the emotions that come from these problems, right? And so if there's a court ticket or an event coming up in the future that you're really worried about, get a journal, get a pen and paper, and write about the worry. Write about how it feels, and write everything you're worried about. Or maybe, let's say it's trauma from the past. Maybe there's a certain person in your life that hurt you really badly, and you're still not quite over it yet. Take a pen and paper, and instead of like lying to yourself, oh, that doesn't really bother me, instead of being in denial about it and say, that don't bother me, that's not a big deal, don't think about it, that's in the past. Instead of doing that, actually go into the past, relive those emotions, and write, or even with the camera, film yourself. Talk about that uncomfortable emotion. Talk about why you got hurt. Talk about how you feel about that person that hurt you, right? And then try to work on processing every emotion that you have from that event, or not processing, expressing every emotion that you have from that event, every emotion that comes up. Try to express it either through writing or speaking on camera. Both is equally as effective, right? And by doing that, not only does it release the uncomfortable emotion, but now allows you to think about it without the emotions, right? So you can now, when you fully write every single emotion down that comes up in your mind, or speak it, what ends up happening is, when you think about it, there's no more emotional buildup anymore. There's no more emotional energy attached to those thoughts, right? And so you can think about a traumatic memory and not feel any trauma or feel any emotions from that trauma or from that memory, right? And so you can think about it like it's just like a piece of information, and what that does is liberates you. It takes the weight off your shoulders and helps you deal with your problems, because not only does that allow you to free up your thinking space and your mind space, but it also gives you more focus and more energy to put towards your other problems, right? And so yeah, so that's it for trauma. Or I got more to add to trauma, but yeah, you could do that for trauma. You could do that for responsibilities that you were running from, which responsibilities are things that you know you need to do, that you should do, that you are not doing, right? Those are responsibilities. Um, and your mind will tell you, hey, you need to do this thing that you haven't done. Laundry, you need to do laundry. Your mind will tell you you have chores that you are avoiding. Maybe unless you're someone that takes care of your business, and takes care of you're responsible for a person. But I feel like for a lot of people by generation, we aren't really responsible. We kind of put that burden on our parents, and it kind of affects us bad mentally. But no, so yeah, you write whether if it's a responsibility that you have to take care of, and it's uncomfortable thinking about taking care of that responsibility. You write about that uncomfortable feeling. You write about, not only do you write about the uncomfortable feeling, you write about all the emotions that come up with it, but you write or speak on camera about how it would feel if you were to take care of that responsibility, or if you were to just start on it. You don't even have to finish it. Whether it's laundry, if it's laundry, let's just say, or not even if it's clean, let's just say it's cleaning your room, and there's a whole mess, like it's clothes, dirty clothes, the floor needs to be swept, you got a trash bag that needs to be taken out to the garbage, I need to organize some papers, like there's a whole bunch of things that need to be done, right? Instead of overwhelming myself, right, and making myself uncomfortable, like I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to do this, right? How about you express the uncomfortable of those emotions, and like, oh, blah blah blah, right? But after you do that, and you write about how it will make you feel if you were to take care of it, but also you start little, you start small, right? Instead of saying, hey, I need to wash those dirty clothes, hey, I need to take out that trash, hey, I need to organize those papers, hey, I need to sweep the floor, hey, I need to do this, that, whatever, right? Say, hey, I'm gonna do one step at a time, one thing at a time, and you do that one thing, and you will feel a lot better, and those emotions now that come up for that responsibility are less comfortable, especially if you express it and communicate why it's uncomfortable and why you think it's uncomfortable, right? And that is for responsibility, but you could also do that for the fear of death, right? Whether it's the fear of death, which is the fear. I'm gonna make a video talking about the fear of death, but whether it's the video or the fear of death, right? You're scared of dying, or you're scared of someone that you love dying, right? What the fear of death is not it's not the actual fear of death, and that you're scared of actually dying, but it's more the fear of not fully living your life while you're here in this moment, right? Not fully appreciating everything and everyone that you have in your life, not fully telling everyone that you love, I love you, not fully loving yourself as much as you should be, right? These are all the regrets that we have from the fear of death, which is why the fear of death can be so overwhelming, and we can kind of get in a panic attack about it, because we have all of these regrets, all these things that we know we should do, that we don't do, and since we don't, and we try to live our life running from this death and pretending, oh, we're gonna live forever. Oh, that thing that you're really scared of, death or whatever, that's actually not gonna happen to you. You kind of like try to make yourself believe this narrative. Oh, don't think about it, right? That's gonna come later. You procrastinate thinking about death, right? And in order for you to release the uncomfortable emotions that come from thinking about death, you need to write about death. Write about how you feel about it. Write about how you want to live your life. Write about think about like if you were on your deathbed, right? And you think about every regret that you will have on your deathbed. Write about every regret that you will have. Write about, just write every emotion that comes up when you think about death, right? And so what this ends up doing though is satisfies your loneliness. It takes care of all of your problems, and then you end up creating beautiful art, right? You might not think that it is beautiful because of your low self-esteem, right? But if you have to really think about it, right? If let's say you wrote a journal entry or you created a video talking about death or talking about trauma from the past, which you think is so simple, you think nobody would really enjoy it. Actually, there's a lot of people in the world that would enjoy it and love to hear your story, but um, it actually is art in terms of being a mirror for your emotions. And I'll explain. So imagine that you made a video or you've written a journal talking about the fear of death and how you feel about death, right? Every emotion that comes up when you think about death, right? You wrote a journal entry or you made a video, right? And let's say that was the last thing that you created and then you end up dying, right? And you made that video and then you uploaded it on YouTube. You ended up dying, right? That video would be the last thing that you ever created, right? And so now that it would be cherished and treated like art from your family and from everyone that knew you and loved you, right? And so it might even be played at your funeral, right? Because it's related. You shared your view and your thoughts on death, which is really trippy. And then you die later. And then that video itself, which you thought was so simple and you thought wasn't really good, or whatever insecurities or whatever doubt that you had about creating that video, what ends up happening is like that's actually just a result of your low self-esteem. But actually, if you were to look at it as an old person, you were to get older and wiser, and you were to look back and watch it, you would look at it with a smile. You wouldn't be cringing. You'd be like, oh, that's awkward. Oh, I shouldn't say that, right? You wouldn't be doing that. You would just have a smile and be like, you would just appreciate just being able to watch yourself, being able to just like see your younger self. Like you would just, I don't know how to explain it, but it's such a profound feeling, right? And that's something that you also need to work on, is how to appreciate your art, no matter what you create, whether you think it's good art or bad art. But yeah, that is pretty much it for the video. I'm trying to think of what else I could say, but yeah, I can't think of anything else. But yeah, that's pretty much it. If y'all enjoyed, leave a like, and I hope y'all enjoyed. But yeah, I'll see you on the next video.